This week I received an email from Scott, and he's very frustrated because in the gym he's just not able to move the same amount of weight that he was able to do a year ago. He's under the tutelage of a coach, unfortunately, that really adheres to the idea that when you go to the gym, every day needs to be a smash fest. And what I wanted to explain to you in this video is there's a thing called periodization that I hope that you'll start looking at your calendar year, January through December, and start breaking it into 4 seasons: pre-season, pre-competitive, competitive, and an off-season. I'll do a different video on periodization, but I want to stick specifically to the question and the frustration associated with, I'm in the gym, I'm not as strong as I used to be, what can I do? Well, the very first thing that I would suggest that you look at is your calorie gap. I see this happening more and more, especially with these internet gurus that are advocating intermittent fasting. So you've got this long period of time in between eating. How do you think you're going to fuel your workouts? Your muscles have their own little gas tank, and when they're depleted and you're asking it to contract, and in this case at a high level of output, it doesn't make any sense. That's just common sense. Will the body adapt? Yes. Will it try to accommodate the demands you put it under? Absolutely. But I come back to the conversation that I had via the email. Why am I not as strong as I was a year ago? Well, because, and again, this is just a possibility of one thing that could be the catalyst behind it, is the muscles don't have enough sugar to contract for the demands that you're putting it under. The other thing I would want to take a look at is the individual's sleep. Are you getting at least 8 hours of total sleep, and is 2 of that deep sleep? Is the awake time less than 10 to 15 minutes? Are you getting 5 to 6 sleep cycles per night? Now, I don't want to get too complicated in this video. I want to come back to the idea, a year ago I was stronger than I am now. What can I do in the gym to make the gym more enjoyable? So I wanted to set the context of what could possibly be not enough calories, not coming to the gym actually rested and ready to perform. But what do you do to turn it around in the gym? Well, eat enough and get enough sleep. We'll assume that those 2 components are in place now. When you go to the gym, simply lighten the weight. I've seen and worked with athletes where we reduce the weight for maybe 6 to 8 weeks, and then when we go back to, okay, we've given the muscles both physically and mentally, I know it sounds crazy, but the muscles become stale. Once we kind of digress just a little bit, once we pull back, it's what we call the catapult effect. We're able to actually lift more weight than we were doing before because we just gave the muscles a break. Lighten the weight up. How about decreasing the amount of sets that you're doing? How about increasing the rest interval? If you take all of those, if you take those 3 elements and you reverse them, how do I make a workout difficult for individuals in the gym? Add more weight, add more reps, shorten the rest interval. Obviously, I could change things like how quickly we lift the weight, or how, if it's a eccentric or concentric movement. That's not what we're talking about here. The frustration was, I'm weaker now than I was a year ago, even though all this work has been put in. First of all, question your quote-unquote trainer. Why are they smashing you for an extended period of time without having any kind of periodization? Because that's where the periodization allows the muscles to catapult training block over training block. Question your trainer. If you ask your trainer, why are we doing this the way we are, and they can't, without being argumentative or being condescending, you need to find a new trainer. You're the client. Understand why you're doing what you're doing. Then I would recommend that you start looking at your sleep and your food, and then when you go to the gym, because you've gotten your routine established now that it's part of your day, it's part of your everyday routine, let's bring the enjoyment back. Simply lighten the weight. Kind of put your ego on the shelf, go in there and lighten the weight. Decrease the amount of sets, increase the amount of rest interval. Because you would be amazed how quickly your body's going to go back to enjoying that feeling that when you leave the gym, you felt like you could have done just a little bit more. I don't understand it. I have seen it now for 35 years that you will have people that are told when you leave the gym, you need to leave feeling as if you couldn't have done another set to save your life. That is the most ridiculous mindset I've ever heard of in my life. Reason being is you're not a machine. You're not mechanical. If I factor in your work life and your personal life and your financial life, and then we start stacking up stress in the athletic realm, at what point do you think the body can't keep up? It's not going to be very long. So this idea, when you leave the gym, when I'm working with my clients, we always leave the gym feeling like we could have done one more set, but we chose not to. It gets into the psychological side of performance. It gets into the reward system. It gets into literally the human psyche. It's not my opinion. It's been validated over and over and over again. Why would I argue with that? And why would I keep that from my clients? Is there some demented mindset that if I make you so miserable in the gym, that makes me a good physiologist? Because that's an upside down and backwards mindset. I need you to always understand why you're doing it. I need you to have some level of insight as to what we're trying to accomplish, right? Where are you at? Where do you want to get to in that journey in between? It needs to be enjoyable and sustainable. No, lifting weights is difficult. That's why it's called working out. But it doesn't need to be miserable. And more importantly, you need to see incremental improvements. And if you're struggling to come back day over day, you've got to recognize you're just digging yourself into a hole, regardless of what all the little negative chatter and name calling and child's game that people play. So I want to thank you for taking the time and watching this video. What can you do when you become stale in the gym, or if you find that you're losing strength? Do the exact opposite of what you're doing. And I think you'll notice some very positive results in a short period of time. If you have any questions, please do me a favor. Send me an email, contact@coachrob.com. If you're not aware of it, every day here on YouTube, we upload a new video. These are your questions. I want to make sure I answer them in a way that makes sense to you. However, if I don't answer the question or I create more confusion, as always, please leave a message below. I personally will get back to each and every question that you leave. Thank you for taking the time today to watch this, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.